Hey everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. Let's get into the story, which is, I mean, this is insane because of how it's just a blip on the, it doesn't even get talked about what the New York Times is basically saying in an article this week. And yeah, I actually picked up the physical, and I've started doing this. I'm picking up the physical newspapers like it's, 1943 or something, and I'm like, look at what the news says. But I like this because when you're tearing apart something on CNN, this took thought. Like someone, with CNN, they're just farting out their face all day long. They don't know what the fuck they're saying, but it's still fun to make fun of how stupid they are. However, or Fox News or whatever, but these, they sit down and there's like a process, and someone else says, thank you for spending hours writing this, here's what I want to change, and like, this goes through multiple levels of fucking idiots that have to come to these conclusions, or propagandists. Sometimes it's a little column A, a little column B, sprinkle a little idiot, little propagandist, and poof, what a lovely souffle we have. Anyway, this article from, again, this week, and as you know, Trump pulling 1,000 troops out of Syria, or out of that area of around the border of Turkey, and so, mainstream media flipping out, and we don't need to get into all the details of that. Obviously, I don't want to see Kurds die. I think that's fucking disgusting. I think, if Turkey's involved in any atrocities, it's fucking disgusting. And of course, Turkey's, Erdogan is a fucking dickhead. And all of that shit, I don't disagree with any of it. However, I do find it hilarious to see our mainstream media go, what if these people get hurt? And it's like, you spend all day, every day, ignoring those dying in Venezuela thanks to our economic war, in Yemen thanks to our fucking bombs dropped by Saudi Arabia, in Iraq thanks to our bombs, or our depleted uranium rounds. You spend all day, or Syria thanks to our economic war, sometimes hot war, all of it. You, the mainstream media, the cable news, the New York Times spends all day, every day, ignoring all of those victims. But they're upset about these Kurds, and that I find to be just what a beautiful level of hypocrisy and bullshit. But anyway, that's a side point. This is the New York Times essentially calling for, or at least saying it's a good thing, a U.S. military coup in our country. Like, if you think about it, the idea of our system, of our governance, of our constitution, and we can get into arguments as to whether it was right or wrong, but the idea is that there would be civilian oversight of the military. Okay, our organized human murder machine. Let's call it what it is. And we can have a debate about whether we need an organized human murder machine so we can murder the people we want to murder. But let's just call it what it is. Organized human murder machine. Sometimes disorganized, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Call them an organized human murder machine. But the idea is civilian oversight of that killing process, of our destruction of other lands, of our bombs being dropped. And this is the New York Times saying, can the Pentagon keep working around the White House? Can the Pentagon keep abiling the civilian oversight of their weapons of death? And they're not saying it in this way. I wouldn't even be having this commentary of it if they were saying it like, this is a scary thing, this is a problem. And look, I feel like I have to give this caveat every time. I fucking hate Trump. I hate they're all corrupt, megalomaniacal stacks of garbage actually put inside of assholes, and then that is stored inside of dickheads. And I don't know how that works anatomically, but it's what they are. So I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I'm just saying that the idea is civilian oversight. And if we lose civilian oversight, then what do we have? We just have a military dictatorship. We just have a junta. This is the New York Times saying that the Pentagon so far has been basically avoiding Trump and the Trump administration's oversight by not really telling them what's going on, keeping it kind of quiet. And it's easy, if you hate Trump, to go, well, thank goodness that Trump and the administration, everything, are not really aware of what's going on with our military. But even if you are so dumb as to think that, what if it's someone you like? What if it's a president you're a fan of? What if it's a Bernie Sanders or a Green Party, or let's say you're a libertarian? A libertarian gets in there, and still our military is out of their oversight. Would that be upsetting? Would that be wrong? Would that be against everything that this supposed experiment of America is supposed to be about? I want to read a little bit. For 9 months, at the beginning of the article, for 9 months, the Pentagon played down the presence of its 1,000 troops in Syria, hoping that President Trump would not focus on the extent to which the American military was continuing to fight the Islamic State despite his order in December to pull out. Now, they throw in the little thing about fight the Islamic State, but really it's our geopolitical power to have troops there to continue to collapse Syria, because that's something we very much wanted to do. And I think I've gotten into this before, that the real reasons for going into these countries is a combination of the fact that they're outside of our central banking scheme, but that also means that we're worried about the power they might get that's outside of our tentacles. So what do we really want? Yeah, we love some oil, but we didn't really get a lot of the oil from Iraq. And, Syria, there's a pipeline that we want to go through there, but that's not really about oil. It's about just collapsing these societies, making sure they can't build up, become strong outside of our central banking scheme, outside of our ability to maneuver them and puppeteer them with our fucking slimy little fingers. So this is, the Pentagon, the New York Times saying the Pentagon has avoided people looking into or knowing what the fuck they're doing, what our organized human murder machine is doing over there. And they're hoping they can continue to do that. And the New York Times is saying, please, let's hope we can continue this military coup. The Defense Department... The Defense Department made lemonade out of lemons the first time Mr. Trump announced a Syria withdrawal. Think about that for a second. A president, again, I don't like Trump, but a president calling for our organized human murder machine to get out of an area, and then them just kind of not doing it, and hoping that the civilian oversight won't notice that our human murder machine is continuing about what they were doing. That's a coup. That's just a full-on military coup. That is the military running away completely unaccountable. And I've said this before, that Congress is not giving any oversight to this shit, right? They're not voting on war. They're not voting to who we should be bombing or anything anymore. They're using the AUMF from a goddamn 20 years ago. They don't know what's happening. They don't know. They don't care. They don't even want to know what's happening. The only military vote they've had is to say we should stop arming Saudi Arabia in Yemen. Stop helping them destroy Yemen. And, of course, that was vetoed, so we are continuing to do it. But all of the other shit, Congress hasn't even weighed in on, really. And this would, if they were impeaching Trump for this, I'd be high-fiving people. Because I'd be like, oh, and by this I mean if they were impeaching Trump for allowing the military to continue to bomb endlessly. We drop a bomb every 12 minutes. And that's the other thing, is Trump is not a peace president. I know right now we're talking about how he has said, let's pull these troops out, and they just keep them there. But in general, he's not a peace president. We're dropping endless number of bombs. He has largely taken the gloves off the military in a way that it hadn't quite been before. In the fact that, he's not reading these documents. He doesn't know what the fuck the military is doing. But in this rare occasion that he says, let's pull these troops out, and they're just like, yeah, we're going to do that. Keep the troops there. Keep killing people. He won't notice. I'm pretty sure he's not watching me right now. Just keep murdering people. In the rare occasion that he is a peaceful president pushing towards getting our organized human murder machine out of an area, they ignore him. And that is a military coup, at least in terms of that area of governance, in terms of foreign policy. We're basically seeing, and we've seen it for years, one could argue, but perhaps more so than ever, a military coup in the U.S. And the New York Times is cheering it on. Great. Wonderful. Let's hope the Pentagon can keep ignoring the civilian oversight of their murder machine. Celebrated. New York Times. This is supposedly the left-wing outlet, right? So basically, they go on to say they made lemonade out of lemons. And by the way, the lemons, which is in that expression, is the bitter reality, right? The horrible thing, the horrible hand you were dealt, to mix metaphors. If you were dealt a horrible lemon in a poker game, and then you were like, this is not the lemon I wanted, and then you could make lemonade to serve to the other poker players because they dealt you the lemons. That metaphor worked perfectly. So, but in this expression, the bad thing they were dealt was pulling our murder machine out of an area. That was the horrible thing they were handed, was the idea that they might have to pull out of an area. So basically, they continued to keep the troops there because they figured Trump wouldn't notice, which apparently he didn't for a long time, I guess is what they're saying. And then this line is, this is incredible. They say, it will be a lot harder to pull this feint again, military experts said. To pull this maneuver, this trick maneuver of continuing to keep our assassins in an area when we've been told by the civilian oversight to get them the fuck out and to just keep them there. It will be hard to pull that ruse again. And the New York Times is lamenting this. Oh no, our murder machine won't be able to trick the civilian oversight into thinking they had left somewhere when they really hadn't. How incredible is that? That's amazing. That's just... And then this last bit. And above all else, military officials decided they would keep quiet about Syria. Keep quiet that we continue to have our murder machine there. The strategy extended all the way to the combat outposts in the country, where special forces officers were reminded that their mission could end quickly if the commander-in-chief were publicly reminded. So if the civilian oversight were to happen to notice that the murderers were still in the area he told them to leave, their mission could end quickly. The idea of get our murderers out of there, and then the murderers say to each other, shh, just stay here. Just everybody be quiet. Just be quiet as we continue to run around with our guns and our bombs, and let's hope no one notices. And so they're sneaking around with their fucking guns and bombs, and they were warned, hey, guys, if you're too loud, the civilian oversight might notice we're here and tell us to leave again. So just keep it on the down low. I mean, and when has the U.S. military ever done anything quietly? We just blow the fuck out of people and, all right. I mean, that's a coup. It's a military coup, at least in terms of foreign policy. Yeah, luckily our military is not weighing in on gay marriage right now or, making our rulings for the Supreme Court, but we had a corporate coup that has in the domestic realm, and that has allowed for the military coup on the international realm. But who are making the military decisions really in terms of geopolitical decisions? It's the corporations. Why? It's the weapons contractors. When Trump said there might be peace with North Korea, weapons stocks tanked. And it was a threat to our weapons contractors that might happen. And every time Trump tries to pull out of an area, which is, like I said, he is no peace president. It's just a couple of times he has, our weapons contractors make sure that doesn't generally happen. We end up continuing to wage war, to wage death, to wage killing across the world. And so really, it's a corporate coup in the grand scale. And that's the umbrella above this kind of smaller military coup that's happening in terms of our foreign policy. Yeah. So, I mean, and yet what do you talk about? What do we talk about endlessly is just the presidential race, right? We sit here and go, who's going to win? I hope this person does well. And we're arguing about 12 votes in Iowa that's going to happen in, 6 months from now, or when we started arguing 2 years from now. We're arguing about 12 votes in Iowa over someone that apparently no longer has any control of our government. So that's fucking awesome. Ah! I just want to end with that. That's going to be my new catchphrase. Ah! Well, thank you guys. And please subscribe. Get this shit out there. Keep sharing these videos. Come visit me. Come hang out with me so we can have a beer and it can be a little more relaxed. And I was gonna say I won't yell. I won't just be yelling at you about military coups, but I probably will. But it'll be over a beer. So come to Redacted tonight, and you can do that. You can in Washington D.C. Also, I'm coming to perform in Toronto. That's all at leecamp.com. If you want more of my chit chat on all of this shit, check out my free podcast, Common Censored. Keep fighting.